This is our Band of Brothers meeting. Basically what we're doing is we're going to bring the meeting to the social media. We had guys show up and guys not show up in the past. So, I thought this is a better way to kind of get our message out of something that we're trying to do as far as broadening our skills as fathers. The meeting is more so, it's not a support group to kind of tell you what you're doing wrong. It's more so geared towards kind of building us and sharpening our skills as becoming a better father. I'd like to introduce myself before we get started. My name is DeJuan Johnson. I work with Lutheran Family Services as a fatherhood support specialist. And I have a co-host,
John Potter, Lewis Potter. Everybody, most of y'all know me by Lewis. And then, I wanted to go over something that he just mentioned. This is not about telling you what to do in your household. This is, like he said again, it's a band of brothers meeting, so we don't want to scare anybody, to make you think that we're experts at being fathers and things like that. That's not the case. So, this is us getting together collectively to see what we can do to empower our community, make it better, make more opportunities for us. It's just taking the reins and the torch in the community. That's pretty much what this is about. So, we don't want you to get it twisted like, hey, we're trying to put your arms behind your backs and twisting your legs and all those kind of different things, but it's not like that. So don't worry about it.
It's more so about just sharpening our skills. We're going to hit on a lot of different topics. Of course, this is the first installment of our video series. We're going to try to do more, maybe once a week, try to upload something and then have a dialogue after we upload it to Facebook or wherever we decide to upload a video to, Twitter, wherever we put it at. Me and Louis going to work on that and try to, make it work so we can all have a feedback. So we can all get feedback, voice our own perspectives on the topic at hand.
Right.
So today is kind of, we starting off with talking about what makes us or what defines us as fathers. I think one of the biggest issues when it comes to being a father is that we don't really specify what exactly that we want to do as fathers. I think we play with the issue. I don't think we want to be serious because we take ownership of it. A lot of it comes from not being taught ourselves and then having that role of humbling ourselves to accept responsibility and say, you know what, I want to learn how to be a father. So we're scared to kind of be specific exactly what type of father we want to be. Good or bad is subjective, of course. It's just if you decide what type of father you're going to be, you got to understand what roles you're going to take when it comes to parenting skills, styles, and pretty much all your moral values. It's just talking about those things and what makes us fathers. So with that being said, what's kind of your take on it? How would you specify, I guess, your type of father?
I'll tell you what. I'll talk about some things I see universally and
Okay.
what my position is as a father. Now, first of all, let me say that I work with people, individuals that have behavioral and psychiatric conditions, and I also work around people that have developmental conditions. I have a great time doing that, and I love to help. And I also am an assistant scoutmaster for a troop here in the North Omaha area, and Boy Scouts of America, baby. Yeah, we're doing it big like that. But as getting back to this fatherhood, this what I consider to be an example or definition of a father. I will say universally. And I think, however, when I say universally, I mean what I'm doing now and then what I would like to do as I get older. Mm-hmm. Mr. DeJuan said that some of us was given the blueprint of being a father, and then the blueprints that we did get, it was the best that they could do with what they knew how to do, and I think it sums it up to that. It's what you know, what's been imputed, what the knowledge that's been put upon you and instilled in you, growing up. Because I think when you start a child to be a father, you start them off as a child. I think that's the best way to do so they can start getting some of the responsibilities younger. Still let them be a child, but I've been taught that, and I've seen it, that if you teach a child how to be an adult, they'll act like one, and I especially with those type of areas. That's part of a universal definition to me of being a father. One that's well versed in things. When you're a father, you definitely are the backbone of your house, of your home, your cornerstone. You are a protector, you are a provider. And however, in these day and times, it's more like a partnership thing because we are all struggling. We're all struggling. So then I think sometimes people they get a fogged vision or distorted vision of what the father's supposed to be if he's not providing everything in the household. It's a little bit different nowadays because we all financially it's hard for us. All financially, it's hard for us. Even with the notion of the single parent mother thing, it's hard. And it's like that for fathers, believe it or not. There's a lot of fathers that are single parents just as well as it is just as many single parent women. I don't really know the percentage. I'll find it out next time. I just know that by people that I'm around, men that I know that have took the reins and have taken custody of their children for many different reasons. But I think universally, it's what you've been taught. If you have a pretty good background of men that look solid, good fathers, they didn't have to have everything, because as long as they had love, the money didn't really matter. The love is what got them through and made them successful in life. It depends on what your definition of success is. Some think it's money. I think it's just love and culture and friendship and familyhood, and to add the money and stuff in, that's good too. But to have a really good relationship with your child and being able to invest in them, which a lot of people don't understand as parents. You have to invest in your children. And it's not just food, clothing, and shelter. It's more than that. It's love, peace, and happiness. It's education, along with investing in athleticism, along with investing in the sciences and different things like that. We got to keep that in mind. Even if the child doesn't want to do it, still you have to make an investment. And maybe it'll be something that they'll see that they'll be grateful for when they get older. I'm glad my father did this with me, or he did that with me.
Right.
So
I think you brought up a lot of key points in what it is to be a father, and start taking that vague spectrum and kind of putting some fine points on it.
Right.
As far as attention, giving your children attention. It's not financial attention. Right. It's that person-to-person connection, that
right.
father-to-son, father-to-daughter connection.
Right.
And start defining your role as that. And how do we go about doing it as fathers? I think we have to start somewhere, and we have to start talking to each other. Like, what are you doing? What are we? What are you doing? What are you doing? And start working with one another. And that's kind of where this meeting comes from. Is that we think we're ingrained with the blueprint on being a father.
Right.
And we're not. And it's okay.
Right.
And that's our problem. We don't want to say, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
We're scared to say.
Right. It looks like it looks like that you're a failure right. if you don't know what to do. I don't have the blueprint, so that you might assume to yourself or others that you're a failure just because of that.
And our thing is, we would rather try to make it up as we go instead of ask for help and then just stumble and fall along the way.
Right.
Instead of saying, let's come together as a group and say, let's start defining some values, some key values that we need to have.
Right.
If you want to be this certain father, what key values do you need? Let's say you want to be the father who raises a child to become at least graduate from high school. Let's start with that. What's some key things about that father that you have to be? To keep your child on the path, the traditional sense of relating to male and female roles, going to school. It's making that decision of what type of father you want to be. Now, are you going to be able to make a decision for your children? No. What you want to do is put them in a decision where they're well informed to make an adult decision.
Exactly.
You're not going to make a decision for them now, but you put them in a position so they're well informed.
Right.
So when they get older and they say, this is what I want to do in my life.
Right.
Say, okay, well, I make sure you had a lot of things around you before you started making these decisions. You're not making an adult decision off a childhood mindset.
Right.
You're growing you have maturation cycle. You have that cycle where you start going through some things. Now, I'm making sure you know how to socialize with people. I know you know how to socialize with adults, respect authority figures. By being that child's wife, you have to start putting some things like that in place. And that's when we start defining what is our role. What type of father do I want to be? Some of it just starts like, let's start with the brand new parent who has the infant. So that means the girl and the boy have been together for a while. So they're not separated yet. Yeah. So we have this relationship now that has a chance to bloom and blossom. Let's focus on that, because a lot of us, we want to jump and throw our own stuff in it after we've been down the road a long time. Okay, let's start with the fresh relationship. Okay, now you have this child, you have a relationship. You got to figure out what's some things that you need to do about yourself as a man to say, you know what, I want to build my child around a family like this. We have to start defining that role, and taking responsibility of it. You say, you know what, when my child gets of age, this is what I want them to become. So now that I know what I want them to become, I know what steps I have to put in place for them. You just don't say, I want you to run the hurdles. You got to learn what's hurdle. Okay, you want to finish at the finish line, but you have this many hurdles in front of you. So now we got to figure out how to get them to start jumping over these hurdles. And one of the things is, when we start defining the role as fathers, say, I want to be in the house with my children. And that's a big step. That's the biggest hurdle. Because once you drop that one, it's tough.
Right.
You talking about kids, looking at the statistics of kids who don't graduate without a father in the home. Mm-hmm. That's one hurdle right off the bat we got to look at. I want my child to graduate, have a higher chance of graduating. Now, just because the father's in the home doesn't mean they're going to graduate.
Right.
But it just, by having a mirror, we have a higher percentage chance of success. And I think, we get so caught up in the 100% accuracy that we forget that we live in a society of percentages.
Right.
Even though he does these things all the way right, doesn't mean they're going to turn out exactly according.
Right. Yeah. You know how the environment dictates that.
Right.
We've seen it.
Yeah,
We've seen it with family and friends that had a good, solid background.
Right.
And then with some environmental issues, or it could have been some spiritual connection issues that disconnected the child away from the home and the way that they were raised.
Yeah. But,
Yeah,
but like I said, we can't get scared of the percentages.
Right.
My thing is, it's okay to use this behavior because it yields the highest success rate according to what we want. We want our child to graduate from school. So being in a household with our kids yields the highest success rate, at least for that. So let's focus on that. Now we got to be in the home. Right. So we got to work with things about ourselves. How do we stay in the home? What do we have to get rid of? What do we have to start letting go of? We all have issues about, our past and say, you know what, I can't be a one-woman man because this is how I was raised. Okay. What's your take on that situation?
Well, I tell you, if there's no maturity to that, I think, especially if you've been taught that you're young and you see it on the TV, you see it in the magazines with how a man should be first of all, and then some of the things that we are taught as to be men, it shouldn't go into the role of being the father, because it's just some bad habits that we're taught. Sometimes we don't know it until we get older. It's just just like you said, because you've seen it or your father did it before you, and said it was okay to be a womanizer or things like that. And it's the certain things that you can't mix with being a father if you want to be a successful father. And forgive me for using that term, successful.
We're talking about when you said, I know just to make sure everybody understands. When he says successful, we're talking about in the realm of a child graduating in that environment of success. So that's how we define success now.
Right, and things, and then like you started off this conversation about, okay, we're going to talk about the new father. Okay, he's with this woman. You need to see where their relationship is at. They have to have a healthy relationship. The mother and father, I know one thing personally, that the mother and father have to have a cohesive relationship in order for part of or some success to happen with raising this child. The mother and father is very, very important that you get along no matter what. Stop making it about you individually. Think about the children. Sometimes I know it's hard, especially when you're dealing with somebody, whether it's the male or the female that of the child that you have an issue with. We have to get over this because this is killing us. This is one of the things that keeps us away from each other. Man, look here, mother, not all of you guys, not all of you women. If you have a father that's in this child's life that's really trying to do his best and you see it, and it's making your job easier with this child, let him do it despite how you feel about the man. Okay, despite how your relationship was. If he's good with his child, let him be good with his child. Don't hold anything against him because he was a bad spouse, bad boyfriend, or what have you. Okay, let's keep the child in mind first and foremost. Let's not be silly. And then and you fathers that have these opportunities with these women, make sure you take full advantage of them. Don't be taking this woman around in circles and you're just trying to do it to get back with her. Or if you're not with her, you can't be with the child. That kind of silly stuff like that. So we can blame as much as the woman is in certain aspects of the relationship that we have with each other, are supposed to have with each other. You have to put that aside, your personal feeling that you have towards each other, because it's going to ruin it. It's something that I'm going to have to pay for later in a relationship with my children's interactions with their mothers. And I want these things to get better. And if you want them to get better, you have to work on them to get better. So you won't have to worry about these stories later on about what your children have been thinking about times in their life that when their parents wasn't getting along. And you don't know how that would bother them. You don't know how this could crush their feelings and their emotions and thoughts, and then moving on and ahead and to be healthy human beings. So I think it starts there first. And for you to even have the title as father, and then I'm going to pass it back to Dewan, is that if you are in a situation where you can see generational things, like the great-grandfather, the grandfather, and the father, see, because that's the first title is the father, then you build up to be a grandfather and a great-grandfather. When you can have all these generations around each other, whether it's the mother and father side or both, have the child interact with all. If you can get them around all these men, that's your father and it's your grandfather or your great-grandfather, this is a perfect example, because they can see different types of mentality from different eras in time. See, all at once. And that is, I think that'd be a great tool of teaching, because it's not just you, because it takes a village to raise a child. So for you to be a so-called successful father, it has to be a village, the community behind you to help that happen. I don't think it's just you yourself. You're not just the only father of your child to help raise. There's other fathers. The coach is a father. The father figure that's in athletics, and that's a big time thing. And I'm not going to hit on that too much. That's a whole other section. I thank the coaches for what they do for the sons that their fathers are not around. So I'm going to pass it on to Dewan.
I think you kind of started where to make those relationships grow is the why factor. I think you started hitting on it. You're able to go deep into it. It's the why. Why do we need to make each other work? And you kind of got into because of the child and the expectation of the child. And that gives you kind of that motivation as a group or as a couple to say, you know what, we have to survive as a couple because we want our child to become this.
Right.
And that gives you that why. So now we got to figure out, how do we survive as a couple? When I teach my parenting classes to my high school students, one thing I like to start off with and talk about their relationship, because most of them are in the relationship that I started out talking about is the infant child.
Right. So
they're in a very new relationship when it comes to having kids. So one thing I like to talk to them about is saying, you know what, relationships are like stagnant water. As water sits, it starts to stink.
Right.
If you're not moving a relationship or you're not moving the water's going to sit there. Right. It's going to fester, start growing bacteria. Right. It's going to be the worst thing that you come around. Right. Bugs going, everything starts coming around.
Osmosis.
Yeah, they start putting all kind of stuff in it. They just come around, ain't no water moving, I'm going to drop something else in here.
Right.
That's like the relationship. If you sit there and you're not moving, people going to start coming around, drop stuff in your relationship, right. Bacteria is going to start growing, and say, you know what? You're going to start getting that toxic feel towards one another, and that's when you start hating each other. Right. Because when you was going through the courtship, a lot of it was play, going back and forth, we having fun with each other because you was moving somewhere. You was moving to the first date, you was moving to that late night phone call, you had some goals set up for your relationship. And then when you got past all that stuff, you still had goals because you still have it as a man. Our next goal is to get to that home run base. We got the first, we got the second, now we moving. Right. So we feeling good about the relationship, so we keep on going. But now we get to home base, we got the kid, we got the score, we got the point. What do we do now that we got the kid? We got the relationship, we got the kid, now we can sit here and look at each other. We go to work to pay bills. What is our goal? What is our motivation as a couple? What are we doing now? That's what happens to a lot of our parents, is that they get stuck in that stagnant position of just doing the same thing over and over and letting bacteria and everybody else drop stuff into their bucket. And now all of a sudden, I hate you, you hate me. Either I'm going to go find another conquest, that's what the man do, and a woman, They go find another conquest to start the whole courtship all over again because now I have a goal, I have something to do over here. So now I got a relationship that's going somewhere. It's fun to me now. I can enjoy being around you. So now when we got this couple that's new with the baby and we want them to grow and become that power couple, we got to figure out, we got to put some things in to make it work. And as a man, that's what this meeting's about. Okay, so now that you have this relationship, what are you going to do next? Okay, we got to start thinking about financial. We got to start thinking about family fun time, family engagement, education, the future, the housing, car. We got to think about all that stuff. That makes the relationship move. When you're not talking about that type of stuff, you're not around people to educate you on that. You're gonna spend the next 35 years hating your spouse, but you got a kid who's growing right along with it.
Right.
So now they got to go through the same toxic mess.
Right.
And try to navigate through. And we can all nip this in the bud now by just having a conversation.
Right.
So you know what do I do next?
Right.
Once you get the job, make your job work so you can move into this position of the job. Or you go to school and do something different. But the goal is, what do you want? I can't tell you what to do. I got to figure out what do you want first.
Right.
And that's when we say earlier when we first started the conversation, what type of father do you want to be? And that will alleviate a lot of the stress going on, going this moment forward. When we start defining what type of father do I want to be? What type of man do I want to be? And that's how you're going to figure out what type of spouse you want to be, what type of father you want to be. Because all of them have the same moral set. All the moral values are going to be the same. If $1 is sitting on the floor, do I put it in my pocket or do I find a little kid who I know drop it and give it back to him? See, if you put it in your pocket, that's the type of man you are. If you give it to him, that's the type of man you are. Good or bad is subjective. You may need that dollar for a bus ride. So now you got your bus ride home, but the little kid don't have his dollar no more. So you done messed that little kid's life up to, move you on, but you got home. Good or bad, like I said, it's subjective. That's right. It's survival. You might have been looking for a ride all day. Right. You found your dollar, and you took it from the little kid. Right. I say good or bad.
The sacrificial lamb.
Right.
Okay.
He's the sacrificial lamb, and I got home to my kids, but he don't have his dollar on me.
Right.
You give it back to him and say, you know what? I gave my dollar to this little kid. It's his. I'm still going to find my way. That defines what type of man you are going to be. And we have to start setting that up. And through these meetings, I think we're going to start talking about some things that kind of push us towards figuring out what type of man do I want to be. We're going to talk about education. We're going to talk about finances. We're going to talk about vision, family setting, pushing our family to move. Along the way, like I said, there's not going to be a right or wrong answer. It's according to what are you doing, trying to give you kind of an overall picture of what you're trying to do. Basically a holistic approach so you have a well-informed decision-making process. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm a good dad, I'm a good father, I'm a good boyfriend, husband. Mm-hmm. What is that? Mm-hmm. And that's where we're going to start, have the dialogue. What is it? What is a good father? Because like I said, a lot of it's subjective. What do you want? What type of community do you want? What do you want your community to look like? If you can't call the police and stop people from selling dope, and you can't videotape the dope sellers, then don't sit around trying to videotape the cops every time they do something. Right. Don't be that person. Right. That's wrong. I'm gonna videotape the cop, but I know what he's doing over here, but I can't snitch. But I know this cop's putting it on the line. Okay, maybe he made a mistake. I'm not saying all cops are good, I'm not saying all cops are bad. I'm not saying all drug dealers are good and all drug dealers are bad. My problem is what they bring. Now, okay, well, I want you to videotape the bad cops just as much as I want you to videotape those on the corner messing up the neighborhood. Right. Don't settle and say, you know what, I'm gonna pick out all the bad cops and then we're just gonna make all kind of hate songs over here. That's BS to me. And as men, we gotta figure out what are we gonna define ourselves. I had a shooting in my neighborhood not too long ago, and I called the cops, and my friends looked at me talking about, well, why don't you get on nobody's paperwork? I said, for saving my neighborhood, for protecting my family. You know how many kids that got hit by stray bullets because somebody didn't want to speak up?
Right. And since you're on that, and this is a whole nother subject.
Yeah, I didn't want to go there, but since we're here, what I'm saying? Yeah. It's one way that was starting a great conversation about being a father.
Since you brought that up, man, I was talking to my kids one day, man, and they was telling me about the incident that happened in their neighborhood. And so we got on the conversation about, what happened was it was a shooting. And I was like, well, if you see something, would you say something? And it was like, no, Dad, because is that considered to be snitching? And my kids are young, and I was like, so no matter how much of a sense I was trying to make that, there's a difference between, to me, telling and snitching.
Right.
Look, Bullets have no names, and I think that when people are interacting with different people, when you got that kind of reputation in the neighborhood with somebody who want to shoot you, some of these shootings I think are senseless. That some of them are just it's something that the person has done. We just keep that really 100 about it. Something has happened, and this might be a retaliation thing. And if that's what you're doing, make sure that you hit who you're supposed to be hitting. I'm not trying to promote this, but the child, my child, or his child, it could have been your child. Hey, make sure they ain't around for that kind of stuff. Make sure they ain't around because they don't deserve to get hit by those stray bullets. And look, if somebody shoots me, I hope somebody tell. Because there's cats around here that's walking around with bodies on them. And they're holding hands with their children and they're standing right next to you at the mall with bodies on them, and they think that's just how it's supposed to be because nobody said that. I'm high and mighty and I can get away with this. And that's just doing too much. And we do have to help the crime in our community. If we wanted to change, we have to be a part of that. And part of it is what we're doing as fathers. However, there's other things that you have to do. If you got some knuckleheads and they're not respecting the fact of the children, then you're gonna have some problems in that community. Because a lot of people think that the gangs run a community, and if they're not organized, they run it down the ground. The people get hurt. Innocent people get caught in the crossfire. What goes on between retaliation between the two sets or whatever. It's your civic duty. It's your civic duty to vote when you're old enough to do it. So it's a responsibility. You are responsible for your community. You are responsible for your neighbor, whether you want to be or not. So let's get out that state of mind of snitching and telling, and bringing people to justice that need to be brought to justice. Because you got some horrific people that's next door. That's your neighbor. That's your neighbor, and they're child molesters. I went on the internet and a couple of weeks ago. And I just wanted to see just the child offenders that was in my area. So I looked at over where my children live. I'm not going to disclose the information. I'll give the information of where they live. But I've seen a lot of pedophiles and child molesters that are registered in my kids' neighborhood. Mm-hmm. When I looked at what I live at, I seen numerous amounts too. They give you a name, sometimes they give you a picture of how they look, but they all around you. And you mean to tell me that you're not gonna say anything? When certain activities are happening in the community, we see what brings the community down. We see the elements that bring the community down. And I know everybody had to survive and whatnot. Over a little bit over 30 years ago, you couldn't tell me that I couldn't do certain things to survive. My excuse would be, I come from a poor background. A lot of us stopped looking at education as the tool to get us out of our conditions. We don't look at education like that anymore. We figure that it takes a long time. It takes a long time. Certain things you can do in 24 hours. Certain things it's going to take you 10 years to do. But I don't want the thing about education. It is the key. And the more you know, the more you grow, and that's real. The more you know, the more you grow, and that's what helped me to become a better father. Because things that my mind that I introduced to my mind, things that I become a student of these schools of thoughts, business or whatever, what have you, gardening, alchemy, whatever. Things that I think that will help to enrich or nurture my children. To make it life better for them, to show to see if there's aptitudes, to grow interests in things, So it's
well, as far as these meetings go, it's an educational tool where we, like I said, once we put it online, everybody gives us feedback and start getting part of the conversation, it's going to grow, and that's going to be more education for all of us. Like I said, this is a community effort where we're trying to start the ball, get it rolling, but every Sunday anybody's welcome to come to be a part of this panel.
Yes.
We can go wide lens, we can move the lens back up or further back to get everybody we can on the camera. But the more voices, the more powerful the message can be. And by no means are we going to build a golden grill, but we're going to make a nice sized path to start carving some things out about what it is to make us strong fathers. And putting us in a position where when we see each other, it's what's up. how you doing, instead of walking past each other and not acknowledging us. I think that's one of the most scariest things in our community is, as fathers, as men, we walk past each other and don't see each other.
Right.
You know, we can be right there next to each other, and we won't look at each other.
You won't look at each other, even if we know each other.
Right.
Sometimes just to, you might not want to, it depends, you might be in a hurry or whatever, but still you can throw a little hot, because I've done that before.
Right.
And then I felt bad about it, you know, when I've done it. You know, it won't take a long time just to say, how you doing?
Hey,
Hey man, I got
what's up?
yeah, this what's up, baby? I ain't seen you in a long time
Right.
or whatever. I'm guilty of that. I, you know, that's something that I definitely have to work on, because that ain't cool, man. You know, you make the time out with, you know, your fellow man and say, hey, how you doing? And what's going on? You know, don't take long. Hey, I ain't got a long time. I'm gonna get with you, man. I gotta, you know, some stuff I gotta do.
Or not, I mean, it's a quick head nod. What's up, man?
Yeah.
I just acknowledge it.
Acknowledge it, right?
And your kids are gonna start seeing that, and they're gonna believe that you know everybody.
Right.
And that's what we want. We want
Right.
to build that community where everybody believes we know everybody.
Right.
Because we are one. There's no reason why we have to move out of our neighborhoods as men. We're trying to build a family to be successful as a family.
Right.
You know, we have to start defining at least that much of who
Right.
we are and how we want to see our neighborhood. Like I said, we got to start taking some stands. We
Right.
got to take a stance on a lot of different aspects of our society and say, you know what, this is what we want and this is what we don't want. And, you know, and then we come together as a collective. We start broadening our message. You know, by no means do we have to leave our neighborhoods to move somewhere else to be safe. That's ridiculous.
Right. I think that'll only last for so long, yeah, because what affects one's backyard will affect everybody's backyard sooner or later if the problem has not been solved.
And I think, you know, we can solve all our problems.
I think
Behind every troubled child, there's a troubled adult.
Right.
That who didn't have the understanding of what it is or define who it is that they wanted to be. You know, they carried on their lives as a 15-year-old throughout their 50s. They were still the same 15-year-old and they're 55. You know, we have to start putting some things, some maturation to say, you know, we have to grow as a people. We have to take some responsibility in our conversations when we get together. We have to be responsible how we act in front of our kids. You know, we can't expect our kids to be one way and we do another. That's
right.
That's irrational.
Yeah, they do as I say and not as I do thing. That's philosophy.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. It doesn't work.
It hasn't worked. And we still working on that terrible knowledge.
No.
And as the world upgrades, we won't.
No.
And we have to, like, today is our start and, you know, of upgrading us, bringing our message out. You know, I want to keep it in a group setting where it's going to just be us. I thought it would be stronger if we start putting it out on the net and working with everybody.
That's what the purpose, man, to make this grow.
And and if everybody comes together and, you know, speak your thing. If you don't like what I'm saying, that's fine. It's okay to disagree. I don't want you to agree with me.
Right.
I want you to have your own thought on it so we can start at least having a way of dissecting what's good and what's not.
Right.
It's okay, well, this is why it's flawed. This is why this doesn't work. Because in the long run, this behavior is going to supersede this other behavior. So we have to figure out, okay, that doesn't work. I don't want somebody to wait till they're 45 to say, you know what, I finally figured it out. When you could be a great father at 22, why not? You know, why not? We want to believe that we have to wait till we in our 60s to finally be good fathers.
Right.
You know, we can start the process now. We can help those young families who want to change. Like I said, to get out that cycle of just sitting there being stagnant water. Learning about finances. Learning about how to make a relationship work. How did you make your relationship last 10 years? Okay, at least you can start with that. That is a good stepping stone to make a relationship last 10 years. And, you know, and talking about those different philosophies. Like I said, one of the most important ones I got was, you don't know how to be a man, just like you don't know how to be a woman. And respect that. And say, you know what, we're going to grow. Right. And then when it comes down, and when you want to get down farther into the mud, is you have to please me as a man. It's not just any man, it's me as a man now. How do you define what do I like? And then how do I define what do you like? And therefore I have to live up to your standard, not every woman's standard. Now some of the standards are going to be universal.
Right.
A lot of things are going to be person specific.
Yeah.
So we have to figure out what is it that I need to do to please you. I'm a learner. And if I get it wrong, I'm sorry, but I need to learn. I'm not going to get it right all the time. That's when when the relationship's not moving, is when you don't take that step to say, you know what, I want to do some things to make ourselves better. And then you start throwing all that bacteria. Right. You keep getting it wrong. You keep messing up because you're a terrible father. I don't know how to be a great father yet.
Right.
This is my first child.
Right.
And then you put me on child support. Now, I hate to even hear the word. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now I'm a child support. You call me a babysitter for my own child.
Mm-hmm.
You know that stuff hurts, especially when I don't know what I'm doing and you know this is my first child or my third child, and I didn't get it right on my first child.
Yeah, the first two you didn't get it
Right, you knew what you was getting into when you started dealing with me. I had 2 other kids anyway.
Right.
But if we don't have that one conversation, you know what? I want to be a better man. Take that one step. That one right there starts the process. Okay, now you want to be a better man? We have to define what it is a better man in your life. And what it is for her to see you as a better man. So therefore, you guys are going somewhere.
Right.
Because if you're doing it to please him, or me, you're not going nowhere. Because you got to go home to her at night. So you got to figure out what is that she needs as a man. And then help her figure out what is she really missing as a man.
Right.
So you know what, that's what you need. I'm going to take you one step higher.
Right.
I'm going to give you this and more. And that's when we start pushing the pile on what it is to be a man, start defining our community.
Right.
And growing. So, you know, this is kind of a great start to the meeting. I don't want to belabor the point, and keep rolling on it hard, but
Right.
That's kind of I guess the circle of the Band of Brothers. Like I said, it was a thought process where it was just going to be us meeting as a group. Me and Mr. Lewis chopped it up and said, we're going to take the message and go to the net with it, internet with it. So, we're going to do it
Right.
and have fun with it because
Right.
I believe that we can build some very strong families here. We just talk to one another.
Right.
Instead of talking down about what we're not doing, talking
Right.
about what
we hear enough of that.
Yeah.
That and that's so cliche, man. That we always hear the stuff that we need to do, supposed to be doing, or we ain't doing.
Right.
And it's never it's never what you are doing. And then it brings me back with the fathers. This is a joke. It brings me back to what Chris Rock said. You know what? I like when Chris Rock talks about the men, the fathers. He's like, what about those fathers that's after they paying the bills, they're doing this, they're bringing food to the table and all that, and they don't get, it's not the same energy as it is for the woman that's doing it. And at least that's my opinion from what I've seen. And he said, at least can we get the biggest piece of chicken? You know what I'm saying? For those that are doing their thing. No, we need more than that. That was just a joke, but even though when we shine like that, the good fathers are mythical, and it's just not with so-called African American men. This is all the way across the board. I have friends of many different walks of life, and their fathers are absent. Their fathers ain't been there, so their mothers are single too. And it's just not a so-called African American thing where fathers are absent. But I would say more prevalent for what I see in our community. I say more prevalent. Yeah, I say that with a lot of our fathers are not around, and it's a lot of other men that can share the same story. So that lets you know that we got a problem. We got to fix it, and you can't just sit and pray it away and hope this is going to go away. It's not that simple. Like T.I. said, wishing is for luxury for children. When you have something a job that has to be done. Our dream, you have to take steps towards it. You have to learn about it. You have to educate yourself about things. Things that we need are within us, but they're dormant. I think you have to wake it up. I think you have to learn how to be a good friend too. I think you have to be learn how to be a good leader. I think that you have to be well versed in different things. So to be a father, you can't be lazy. You got to show children worth ethic. I know me coming from the South, that blueprint, because we did have blueprints. And I remember I've seen Pac on a documentary talking about like when we were younger, our age, our peers, we had a blueprint that we followed that they had laid out for us. And then so when we stopped doing that, then here comes forth the drug dealers and all these different types of elements, and that's our community. And instead of taking the college role, or we don't have the business to pass on to the city, it's not like me and DeJuan was talking about one day, DeJuan and Sons. We don't see that. It's not prevalent in our community. We need to see a lot more of that. We need to be able to have something to pass on to them besides debt and different things like that. We need to have some things that's more set in stone, have a foundation, and to really be citizens in our community and get it away from being hood. Everything's been taken off. You took off the neighbor from the hood, and you took away community from the community. You took that away from the neighborhood to where it's now just like a hood. And a hood is just, I mean, it could be an empty shell. It could be houses that are boarded up. It could be glass and rocks and stuff that's everywhere. It could be unattended yards. It could be just children running rampant without any supervision, cussing. A lot of this stuff I see down where these children, they don't even respect the elders, and a lot of the elders, they deserve it because they don't respect the children, or they don't respect themselves. So how are you going to expect them to talk correctly to you, and you're not talking correctly? You got toxic language. You have toxic language, and Mr. DeWine, he mentioned this. You have toxic language, so we have to fix the way we communicate, because that's the most important thing, and stop, taking things to the heart. If I got a booger on my nose, please tell me. If I got a booger in my nose, that's the truth. That's the fact. That's the fact. But it's how you say it. Right. It's how you say it. Don't embarrass me about it. It's time for embarrassment, and it's time for not to be embarrassed.
Right.
So we had to watch how we tread with each other, man, because we've been talked to and put down so bad by our oppressors, and we have adapted their mentality and their way of living. This is not even how so-called African Americans are supposed to be living, man. We come from a great people. We come from we created the form, we created the path of familyhood. We know these things. We come from these things. We have to wake ourselves back up and to get back to that, what once made us successful and the most powerful people on the planet. Family first. Family is where it starts. Family is how it starts. That's where it starts at.
So, I think you kind of hit something that we need to talk about too. Is kind of when we start putting stuff online, is we have to respect one another.
Yeah. It has to be a form of respect, even if it's a debate or something going on. It might not should be in front of others. That's something that me and you might have to debate behind closed doors. We don't need that. Just like when you said you start. I'm glad that you hit that in. You really got me excited now. We're not coming in here to argue. If you're not coming in here with something concrete that help the movement move forward, not behind. We're seeing what behind does. Right. You see, it makes us cliquish. It makes us, we got too much posses and clicked up and all these tribaled up and all these things. And that has been detrimental to us as a people too. Because I'm Sumerian over here, or I'm from Libya over here, or I'm from North Omaha over here, or I'm from South Omaha over here. You can't have that kind of mentality. It got to be a community thing, man. Or this is not going to work. You got to get all of that stuff out of it. So don't come here if you are talking about being cliquish, or you think that you're smarter. If you're smarter, then you need to improve some conditions for those that don't know what you know. And you're obligated to give it to us because that's your job. That's your obligation. You must give back.
But share your opinions. Don't tear nobody down. Because like I said, by no means do anybody have a golden grill on parenting and how to make a rose bloom. You can get a rose out of concrete.
Right. I bet you was gonna say that. I was just thinking about that. Right.
Even a rose grows in concrete. Would it grow better in a field of great dirt? Yes, it will.
With the nutrients in it.
Yes, it will. But like I said, there is no 100% way of doing anything. You're going to get something out of somehow. There's a cause and effect, and a lot of things going to happen along the way for all of our kids. But like I said, when we live off percentages, I'd rather grow that rose in great dirt. So let's talk about building great dirt and uplifting one another. That's what this is all about.
This is metaphorical, but he uses that when he says great dirt now.
Yeah. And we're gonna disagree. That's fine. But like I said, don't put nobody down and have anything negative to say, because I will delete the comment. It's not about that. It's about us growing.
Yeah. No negative comments. We're not here for that. So, this is an open forum where we opening our lives, and nobody's perfect on this panel. I know I'm not. I'll tell you. I do have some morals. It's it's certain things that the way what was invested in me that I didn't lose because of what happened in my childhood or what my oppressor put on me. I started figuring this out, so it made it easy. It made it better for me to not to be a savage towards my own. It made me, we need to fix this, because we not only owe it to ourselves and our children, we owe it to our ancestors, the ones that believed and the ones that are coming after them, which is, hey, it's the generations that it came down, whether depending what generation you fell under. So it's an obligation, man. We gotta help each other out.
Right. And if you see somebody on here who's trying, man, give them that respect. At least they trying.
Right.
You know, we all are trying. Nobody, like I said, nobody's got the golden grill. We all trying.
Right.
And that's what this is all about, to put us in a situation where we can grow a little bit faster, a little bit more effectively,
Right.
and have, you know, a better outcome for our families, our friends, and our community. This is a family affair, and we're working towards, you know, all of us becoming great fathers in this room. Great fathers, great men, great brothers, uncles, whatever father role, whatever male role there is, we're trying to become great at it. And all of that same moral fiber.
And then you already said moral fiber, and whatever your endeavor is, you know, if you're good at it and you show that it works, and you can show that it's something that can be taught, that can create a job, a profession, anything like that, bring it. This is like the Covenant, that book. All the professionals, and this is something that Mr. DeWan had talked about, which was a part of his vision, and also a scientific experiment. That we need people from different endeavors. We need to see those black professionals, you know, just other than just athleticism. We need to see the teachers. We need to see the lawyers. We need to see the doctors. We need to see the brothers and sisters that's working at Highland Dairy. We need to see those that's working at Logiers. We need to see those that has those trades of plumbers, the electrician, those of you that work at OPPD, those of you that work at MUD, those of you that are officers, those of you that are firemen. Wherever your endeavor is, you are welcome in an open platform to be open and honest, to get things off your chest that you probably, just to have a dialogue, just to get something off your chest. We're here. Like we say again, no negative comments. And to my Facebook friends, some of you don't. I'm not gonna put you on. I'm not gonna put you on the series. I'm just gonna tag you. Some of my Facebook friends, you're really great philosophers, great thinkers. You have a nice variety of things, of thoughts and things that you do in the community. So I'm gonna be tagging some of you guys, and I hope that some of you guys should show up, because you do have some talent that will help change conditions in our community. So, you know, are you willing to step up? That's the question. Are you willing? That's not a joke. I have to say that with a smile. Are you willing to step up? It's okay. This is personal. You don't want to be on camera. You don't want to be on social media. You have things that's going on in your life. We're not here to judge. Just don't get us in trouble.
At least like us so we know that you looked at the video. That's all.
Yeah. At least like us.
Yeah.
At least like us.
All right. We'll end it with some announcements. Wednesdays from 2 to 3 o'clock, you have the Empowerment Network meetings at the what's it called? North Omaha Home for Boys, right there on 52nd Street. Next week, I'll have the announcement for the FAT Coalition meetings. That's Fathers Action, Fathers Achievement Coalition Team. I think that's the name of it.
Okay.
They meet at the TAC building. Next week, I have the exact time and date. It's in the afternoon, so pretty much it's, when I have it, I'll give you more information.
Okay.
What else do I have? Thursday nights at the Lutheran Family Services building here at the Urban League. I have a partners parenting class I teach. It's talking about different aspects of parenting, working together with one another. It's not the you, me, her, him. It's more of a we, ours, and us philosophy. That's how it's the words and phrase. It's about us, we, and ours.
No singulars, huh?
Yeah, it's no singulars. And it's more so geared towards, you know, talking about how to make us work and put our families in a position to grow. Now, whether you're together or not is not really an issue. It's preferred that you be together like any relationship, but if you're not, at least if you can, come together, and we can talk about how to make your family strong together.
Right.
So if you work together, your child is going to be successful. And then we start, like next week we have another video coming out, and we're going to keep this thing moving. But if you got any other acknowledgments, anything else going on in the community of fathers, please hit me on the inbox. We're going to try to start a Banner Brothers page. I'm trying to get one of those together. So we all be on the same page. Right now, everything probably go up under my name. I'm going to try to get it, give it its own page here soon. But that's where we at. Mr. Lewis.
I want to add this. Um, I am an assistant scoutmaster for a troop in Pack here 362, and we also do what we call a Scout Reach program in 32 schools around the community. South Omaha, North Omaha is where we are predominantly at, and it's a great program. We do it usually with the CLC program, and it's a great program for the boys. Boy Scouts of America is one of the best youth organizations that's on the planet. It's a leader-enriched program. This is a program for boys where we nurture the leadership in them. And a lot of it is through outdoor activities, camping, different Boy Scout functions, different activities that we do. So if you have an interest in such things like that, you want to challenge yourself, you want those adventures. With the boys, if you have young male children from the ages 6 all the way up until you can go all the way to your 18 with Boy Scouts. Cub Scouts is off 6 to 11, and then they're bridged to become a Boy Scout at the age of 11. They got before they're 18 to finish the program. It's a very good, unique, and very cool program. You can inbox me also to Louis Akara Potter on Facebook, and I can give you some more details. We got a lot of camping events coming up, and we hope to see your faces. We hope to see the children. And like I said, hey, it's a beautiful